Hello guys, I'm going to show you today how to make a simple game using translation, spinning and creating a noise with the mouse, and the game will look like this. There's a character in the middle and spinning the mouse. Also the sound is generated the mouse movement. I'll turn it off for now. And those balls are spinning with the spiral path, and they are going to end up in the middle. So you have to shoot them all. When you shoot them all, the background changes color to green. And about the sound is created with your mouse movement. And here there are two variables, which first one is set by mouse X, next one is for mouse Y. Those two variables are added and they generate the sound. This. So let's start from the beginning. I started the basic functions. I imported the OpenGL for texturing. I guess we need a P3D or OpenGL if you want to use the texturing function. Also, I've added an image into data folder, image with our hero, which will be spinning the mouse. Okay, so let's create a new class called player. Okay, so what kind of variables we need? We need pimage to store the image of our hero. We need a variable for the angle, so let's float angle, and we will store the size of the screen. So screen width and screen height. In the constructor we will pass the screen size. We use this because we want to assign this value into this value here. So the global class 1 is this one with this, and assign this one. This variable is passed in construction. The same thing for the screen height. Okay, let's load the image. So hero, load image. Hero image is inside the sketch folder, inside the data folder. It's here. Second. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so now I'm using texture mode. because I want to map it just normally without using the sizes of my image. Okay, let's call no stroke because our edges of the image are transparent, so I don't want to see the lines. And let's create functions. A second. So let's first create a run function. This function includes all functions that refers to the player class. Just create a function which draws the player. So I'm going to rotate my image, my players, so I have to use push and pop matrix because I don't want this spinning to affect other elements. Okay, so firstly let's put my player in the middle of the screen. Then I'm going to rotate my player with the mouse. This is my variable float angle here. Then I have to draw my player. To be a square. And texture. My hero image. Okay, I've checked the sizes of my image, so I want it to be in the middle. So let's calculate a little bit. That doesn't have to be precise. Okay, now we're going to texture it. So 0, 0, start, and X, and start Y, and X and Y, start X and Y. Okay. Now we want to. Okay, let's check if this works. So initiate the object, create a new object, you're passing width and height of the screen, and call the function which draws our player. Is this one. Let's see if it works. Yes, we have our player in the middle. So the blinking. I think I changed something in the processing folder, so I have to sort it out. So for now I think P3D should work. Yes. Okay. I changed to P3D because OpenGL I changed some files. That's why now it's blinking. Okay. Now let's create a function which turns the image Okay, so what we will need for this function, we need mouse coordinations, but I don't want to access them from this point, because I'm going to pass it. Okay, so our angle will be another version of tangent, sorry, will be calculated from the mouse position, and we have to include our translation, otherwise it will not work perfectly. So it will be mouse Y position minus screen times 2 divided by 2, and mouse X position divided by 2. Why like this? We translated the image, the position of our hero, so we have to include this in the rotation, otherwise the different values for the mouse position will be passed. Here, I will show you now. So, we want to drop layer, and before this we want to turn him. And we want to pass mouse X position, mouse Y position, should be passed here. Position. Okay. Now let's change this, because I want to use it just once, so I just need to use run and mouse X, mouse Y. Otherwise, without the run function, I have to call this function, then call this function, but using this one I can call everything just once, with a single line of code. Let's check. Yeah, it's spinning, but the screen isn't refreshing, so let's refresh. Yeah, it's spinning with the mouse. No problems with the different values. As you can see. Okay, so let's check what will happen if we remove those two things. You will see. It looks like the player is rotating, but without including the transition of the image. For the image, the mouse position starts from here and goes down in this corner. That's why it's rotating only here and not here. So this is done. So now let's create enemies. Okay, so what do we need for our enemies? we need our position, so we will use vectors. Position. We need angles and radius for the movement, which will be on the spiral path. Our angle and our radius of the difference for each circle. Then let's create range and spin. Okay, so using those variables, we will set the starting position for our enemy. We start the starting position. We will add how far with the radius the enemy is and how fast it should spin. I'm going to show you later. Size. Then let's pass those variables: radius, range, and spin. You have to initiate and create the vector if you want to edit it later. We will not receive an error if we initiate it. And let's set the size, for example, 15 pixels. And similar to a player class, we will create the run class, run function, sorry, and here we will include the functions for the enemy. So let's draw the enemy. Okay, I will use push matrix. I think you don't have to, but later I will improve the game, so I will need this. So let's make just simple circles, simple dots. It will be small, so it will look like dot. So position.x from our vector, position.y from our vector, and the size which we specified here. Okay, so how to move our enemy. We're doing it. Okay, so we need the angle and the range. That's theta minus spin, which is specified at the beginning when we create the enemy. Modulus times 2p. Modulus 2 pi because you don't want. No, it's a barrier. We don't want the variable to increase the amount up to the, I don't know, big numbers. And the range we will specify it at the beginning. Okay, and how to spin our enemies. So position X, position Y. Spinning for the X, you have to use sine from the trigonometry, and for the Y, we need to use cosine. So sine theta, which we specified here, times radius, because the starting point will be I want to put the enemy outside the screen, and plus with divided by 2 because we use translation, so I have to include it. We'll do it the simple way. I know it's not good when you use the global program variables in the class, but just for now, that's just to show you. Cosine, the same thing. Let's just copy this. This cosine. Okay, we have our enemy. Now we will use move enemy and draw enemy functions. So our enemy and player classes are done. So let's create a bullet class. Store our bullets. Close the class. Constructor. Okay, and the variables for our constructor. So what do we need? We need this position, the starting position, and the direction for our bullet. So which direction the bullet will follow. So let's use p vectors, position, initiate it and create here, direction. Okay, we'll pass it in simple way. So this is just for the constructor, or oh, we don't need it now. So just size of the bullet. So what do we need here? We need to pass the direction, so x direction and y direction. So position set, and we'll set it to the player position, so it's width divided by 2, height divided by 2, 0. You should pass, this is the same problem here. You should access the global variables from the class, but it's just temporary. So it's direction set, so it's x direction, because the position, first starting position will be player position. Player is always in the middle, and you assign the variables in the which will be passed. Then you have to subtract our vector from the starting point to specify the speed of our bullet. So those are positions. Now I want to set the speed. So firstly I'm subtracting the position with direction. Then I'm normalizing it. So normalize, because I want to set the values from this vector to be below 1 up to 1. Then I'll multiply it, for example 9. This is the speed of our bullet, and size of the bullet will be, for example, 5, a small bullet. Okay, so what do we need here? We need run function, we will draw a bullet and move bullet. The same with enemy and player, but player is being not moving. So going to draw bullet. Okay, and going to move bullet. Okay. So we'll draw just the simple dot, simple ellipse. It will be different than the enemy, so white, for example, then ellipse. Be position X, the starting position, position Y, bullet size, and I'm going to move our bullet. We will simply add the direction bullet to the position bullet. So position, add direction, which was calculated here at the beginning when we create new bullet. Everything is calculated just once and is updating by itself here. So draw bullet, move bullet, and those classes are ready to use. So what do we need? We need a simple way without any additional classes, so we'll put the storing variables in the main class. So it's array list, bullets, array list enemies. Okay, and we will fill it, for example. Oh, what's wrong? Okay. So create the array, create another array, now add some enemies, for example, enemies dot add new enemy. So let's create, for example, I don't know, 4 enemies. First one with the radius not so big, but let's create like this. Then the difference speed, you have to set the small values because you will see it will be very fast for some of them. So this will be feather, say 0.3. Let's increase it just a little bit. This one will be, for example, 550, and the same here. This one will be a little bit faster because it's further than others. The same thing here. Okay. So here, let's say something like this, and for example, I don't know, maybe 0.04. Okay. Now maybe I will make it. I don't know if it will be smooth, so maybe let's create it. Let's call this function. So let's draw enemies for now. Player will be at the end because I want our player to be on top on everything, on bullets and enemies, so when you don't kill them they will be under you, not on top of the image with the player. So let's look for the enemies and draw them. So firstly we secure against the array. If it's not null, we will draw everything. In arrays we use size. It's not 0, so it's not empty. Then loop through. Okay, string of A and B 0, be smaller than enemies, not size, and B++. Then cast the enemy to the enemy. Class the type will be the type of the variable will be enemy, name will be enemy with a small e, equals cast from this class, cast the object of the number b. Okay, so now we call this variable includes the enemies from 0 up to the end of the array, which is an array is 3 because array size is 4, but we look from 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and for each enemy just run the functions. So we'll move them and draw them. Let's check if it works. Token. I forgot about comma. And bullets. Sorry. Or the letters. Let's check if it works. Yes, those circles are spinning. This one is slower, this one is faster, this one is fastest. As you can see. Now we cannot shoot, so let's create function to have a possibility of shooting. So let's go here, outside the draw, create mouse pressed, and when we press the button, the bullet will be the new bullet. So so we pass just the mouse coordinates. Okay, then we have to loop through the bullets to draw them. Okay, the same thing. Let's secure against the null or empty array. So if it's not null, then loop. Now another variable will be, for example, a smaller than word size, a++, and casting, so will be bullet, class bullet, name, and bullets get a. And for each bullet run functions, which are here. Okay, let's check if it works. We don't see bullets because the background is white as well. So let's make, for example, 150. Yes, we can see bullets. So lagging a little bit. Okay. So now let's check the collision with bullet enemy and bullet edge of the screen, because I want each bullet to be destroyed after it hits the edge or the bullet. Okay, so if let's go here, so bullet dot position X, enemy position X minus enemy size divided by 2, and bullet dot position X smaller than enemy Y, and the plus, because I want bullet to be in range of the enemy size and its position. The same thing for the Y. Okay, I think this should work. And enemies. Enemies. No, I just need to add the for loop, because if you want to loop through the enemies, we have to again use this function, because this just draws the enemies. This one draws the bullets, but I need to loop through the enemies again to check if the bullet hits one of the enemies. So it's 4. I can't put this function inside this one, because enemies will draw only if there's any bullet, and another way the bullets will be drawn only if the enemies are on the screen. So I have to, unfortunately, have to use it again. So let's see, for example, C smaller than enemies size, C++, enemy. You have to care about the name, because this is created only for the full for loop. The same is here. Get C this time. Okay, so we look for this. Then if the bullet hits the enemies, so enemies, remove C, and bullet, remove A. Now let's check if the bullet hits the edge of the screen, because I don't want bullet to kill enemies out of the window size. If bullet expos, so if bullet position X smaller than 0, or position X is bigger than width of the screen, or smaller than 0 for the y-axis and bigger than height, then just remove this bullet. Let's check if it works. Okay. Let's check if they're incorrect subcodes. Yes. It's more bigger than this, smaller, bigger. Should work okay. Let's wait a little bit. Yeah, decreasing the radius from my position. Let's kill this one. And maybe because of the lagging, that's why it looks like they're destroying a little bit further. Oh, it's here. Sorry, it's X, X, Y, Y. X, X, Y, Y. Check it now. Okay. Ah, I think it's more precise now. Yes, more precise. So let's create a simple thing for the if you win or if you don't win. So let's change the background. So for example, we set the color. So let's create, for example, color background, and let's set it here. So if enemies, if there are any enemy, the background will be red. If there's no enemies, background will be green. Size 0, so there's no enemy. And background color 0, and just not exact green because it would be too light. Else back kind of red and back. Let's check if it works. Here we have, as you can see, the red color. So let's give them all. Okay, last one. Okay, it goes green. Okay, so I think it's enough for the visual. Now let's go to the sound. I have to copy sound classes from the reduce project. So it's audio file in and audio. And I don't think if you need audio file in because I will manipulate it by mouse, but anyway, I'll just copy this part. Okay, and the audio stuff. So here's the audio stuff. I'll explain it to you. So these are variables for our mouse X and mouse Y. They are adding itself to the whole buffer. So if you increase the X, it will be from 0 up to the point, for example 1000, and if you increase the Y with the same thing from 0 to 100, 1000 for example, and if you increase both of them, they will be adding itself so up to 2000 for example. And it's the face, the actual face for playing. So what do we need from audio? You have to input the file. So let's just set the audio fret. Okay, it's for audio. And the main thing, which is generate audio out. Let's go at the top, bottom. Okay, so buffer is created with sine, with the sine noise, and it's multiplied by phase, and phase is created by the actual phase, of course, and the change of the mouse coordinates divided modules by frequency. So I will increase the X value and the Y value, and the noise will be the level of the noise you will hear. Let's check if everything works. So okay, I will stop talking and you can hear the difference. Okay, it's a little bit noisy, but I think that's it. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy.